Welcome back to Seriously Funny. I'm your host, Mashnor Kabir, and I created beanbags. This week we talk about how I pretend that you can't read the title of the episode, and I tell you what the episode is about. I've been having some rough work at school. It's really running me thin, so I thought, why not talk about comfort? And so here we are. However, there's a lot of types of comfort, and we'll talk about that and whatever else random things pop into my head while I write this episode out. And I think that the microphone quality sounded pretty good, except for a little bit of an echo, which is really more an issue with my room rather than an issue with the microphone. So I'm not sure what I can do about that other than soundproof my room, and I don't know if I'm going to go about that, but we'll see. Oh, let's center myself here a bit. There we go. And also the sound, the gain, it needs to go up a little bit. So sorry if you had to turn your volume way up to hear anything last week. I'll see if I can add another compressor or some more gain and hopefully fix that. But if you've ever been in a place where it snows or gets super cold, you know the great feeling of comfort coming in from the cold and walking into a heated place, or taking a hot shower, or wrapping up in a blanket. You get the point. That's a pretty great comfort. Really gets anyone going. There's also the great feeling of having a really big project that you finish, and then you finish it, and now you can finally binge that entire anime that you've been wanting to watch. Truly an ineffable feeling. That's my favorite comfort. Then there's the comfort of being an addict and getting your fix after you wake up so that you can function at any reasonable capacity at all. That's definitely another form of comfort. From me, since I have an anime addiction, maybe the last situation I gave isn't the best, but the point being, comfort comes in a lot of forms. My plosives have gone into the mic a bit, so I don't know if I can lower that, or we can try this. We can try to straighten the mic out a bit and speak like that, which might help the plosives a bit, or maybe I can put my pop filter back on. I'll try that next week, who knows. There's also the air button. If I press this right now, what happens? I wonder how this sounds. So on the interface, there's a button that says air, and apparently it makes things sound better. So right now I can hear myself, and if it sounds good, I'll switch to this next week. But for now, we'll just leave it where it is. So off. And hopefully that doesn't just like break everything and I have to re-record this. That would suck. Anyways, where was I? Comfort comes in a lot of forms, and like most things, some of them are fine, some of them are less fine, but either way, too much of anything isn't great. So what are these forms of comfort? What are the nuances of comfort? The first thing is context. Context, I think, is pretty important when it comes to comfort. I'm already lost. In one context, something can be comfortable, while in another context, something can be uncomfortable. Say the coming in from the cold weather example I just gave. In that example, a cold shower would be absolutely and utterly comfortable. All right, it would be great. But a cold shower from the cold would be utter torture. Why? I don't know what I'm saying. This is why I look at the script. It would not feel well, and it would not be fun time for most people, except for psychopaths like me that decided that they want to take a cold shower every day, regardless of the weather. Truly a great feeling, and all I have to show for it is the never-ending abyss of pain in my eyes. Yeah, but if someone exercised super hard. What accent just happened? If someone exercised super hard and it was a pretty warm day out, taking a cold shower would probably feel pretty good and quite comfortable even. While taking a hot shower in that situation might not be such a great feeling. Through this, we can say feeling comfort might depend on context. One thing that's comfortable right now might not be comfortable later. But context isn't a form of comfort. It's a factor that determines whether or not you are comfortable. A form of comfort is what we'll call a comfort food. As the name says, this does, of course, apply to food. However, it also applies to other things. Comfort food is that thing that you can always come back to and enjoy. So a literal comfort food would be some food that no matter what, you can always eat and be okay with. Ice cream is a pretty good example of comfort food for most people, I'd say. I think a lot of people can eat ice cream and just be okay with it. It's just not something you're going to like, I don't want ice cream. It's very rarely you're going to say that. For readers, there might be some sort of book that's a comfort food, a book, a manga, or something of that sort that they return to every now and then. For me, I don't usually rewatch shows or reread books, but what I do is rewatch YouTube videos. I have some YouTube videos that I would call comfort food. Most of these are stories from Exerbia that I go back and I like to go back and listen to. For example, And Then We'll Be Okay, a story from Exerbia that I've talked about before. I've re-listened to that story fairly often. I really, really enjoy it. And I really, really enjoy going back and, how do you say, re-exploring it, re-watching it, re-listening to it. I don't know. I was going to say something and I completely forgot the word. Happens to the best of us. And obviously, I'm the best. I'm kidding. I think there's another context to comfort food as well, though. Comfort food might just be something that you can always go back to, but it might also be something that you do when you're stressed or not feeling it. Maybe you just have an album that you know when you're going through a rough patch, you can always play that album and feel better. For a lot of people, this album might be 17 by XXXTentacion. If I'm ever feeling the pain from my cold showers a bit too much, I know that I can listen to 17 and it'll make me feel more comfortable with the pain of my cold showers. The third type of comfort that we'll talk about, even though we had two different types with the same name, is the comfort that's a little more not fine. And that's going to be the third example that I gave at the top of this point. Sometimes comfort is a tool people use in order to get by. And at first glance, that might not seem like a problem. When you're watching A Silent Voice, of course, you need 3 boxes of tissues to get by and 4 tubs of ice cream. It's going to happen. You just need it to get through. It's a necessity. But for life, when you can't stand any semblance of discomfort, you might be at a bit of an impasse. We'll talk about discomfort later on near the end of the episode, but sometimes comfort is abused, and that's not great. But let's not spoil our last point, and let's not get too negative yet. Though last time I said that, I ended up having one of the sadder episodes I've made, so maybe I shouldn't jinx it. Comfort is pretty great. We're just going to ignore what I said right now for now. But comfort is pretty great. That hot shower after being in the cold, the anime after finishing that long project, that first pee in the morning when you wake up, it's all pretty great. Comfort really just gives you a solid chub, you know? I think comfort is pretty great. Although you might hear people saying that discomfort is the way and you should feel more discomfort. I mean, I could do that. Yeah. Or I could just keep watching anime, and I think I'm going to pick the latter on that one. If you read The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, maybe he says something else, and that's a book I have to read at some point, but maybe he says something else. But why would you listen to a, not Nobel Prize winning, but a New York Times best-selling author and instead of me, right? Why would you ever do that, am I right? But anyways, why is comfort great? Let's dissect it like a frog in 10th grade bio class. And just like that frog, I really need to stop shaving the day before of my recordings because this clean face, like this completely empty face, just does not look great. Maybe I should do it on like Wednesdays or something. But anyways, where was I? So yeah. like the frog that you dissect in your 10th grade bio class, there's a bunch of different pieces and viscera in there. So we have a few different pieces. The first thing that comfort can give you is rest and ease. This goes back to the project and anime example. You have a lot of hard work, you exercised, you had a project to do, you had to extend yourself in some way, mentally, physically, spiritually, and then you just veg out on the couch. An analogy here is a rubber band. You stretch it, but unless you want it to tear in half, then you need to let it rest for a moment. Come back to equilibrium, which I think is another episode. Write that down, as they say, which I did write it down, don't worry. But rubber bands, you're a rubber band. At least that's where I think I was going with that. No, it's not. Comfort lets you recharge the batteries per se. That's what I was saying. This is familiar for the situation I described. Finishing a fat project and then watching anime. That's lets you. I don't know how to type. That lets you recharge the batteries, get energy back. Why did I write it like that? That lets you recharge the batteries and get energy back. Man, I don't know what I was doing. Another example is actually the second piece. The second piece of meditation. I wrote the script intermittently over the course of the week. Usually I read it on the day before I record. And so I have some semblance, like I know kind of what I wrote and because it was just the day before and I remember things. So when I come to record, it's like, oh, I kind of know what I'm going to say. But now it's like a lot more looking at the script. And this is a kind of a pro and a con. Pro because it gives me more time on the weekend to do homework for school. Con because now I need to look at the script a bit more. So I think I'm probably going to keep doing it, but I guess apologies if you care about me not looking at the camera. But if you're an audio listener, which you should be because I don't make money on the video, then it doesn't matter to you. But actually, you probably didn't hear any of that if you're an audio listener. Anyways, another example is actually the second piece of meditation. So meditation is translated into two words in Sanskrit, dharana and dhyana. So dharana is the action of meditation. So if you're doing zazen or Zen meditation, then the one where you focus on your breath, you've probably heard of that one. The act of watching your breath is the dharana. It's a verb, something you do. Dhyana dhyan is kind of the end goal of meditation. It's a noun, it's a thing, or a place, I guess. It's a state of mind. And meditation, when you're practicing, it's a state of mind. Dhyan is a state of mind that you try to reach through the dharana. This is a state of mind, or a state of no mind, to be more specific. The doing something is actually not meant to be easy. A lot of people think meditation is something you do to relax. And the end effect will, a lot of times, especially for beginner meditations, the end thing will be that you come out of it and you're super relaxed and you feel recharged and calmer or whatever. But during the dharana, it can potentially be a lot of work. Take, for example, Kapalbhati. I did this yesterday, actually, Bellows Breath. You're forcefully exhaling with your stomach, and this can make you quite sore, actually. So yesterday I was doing Bellows Breath, and so it's like, how do I do this without the audio? If you're in audio, this would just obliterate your ears. There's no reason for me to do this. But you take your stomach and you push it in, and air comes out of your nose or mouth, I guess, depending on how you're doing it. But anyways, when you do that, so yesterday I did 3 rounds of 100, so it was 300 exhalations. And by the end of each 100 round, your stomach hurts a bit. And so it's not exactly just easy all the way through. That dharana is a little bit hard and a little bit tough. But then after you do that, after you do the dharana, once you sit with your mind, that's the part that usually, quote, feels good, end quote. There's a tension that builds up, and then in the end, you release that tension. And so that would be, that relates to the rubber band. But yeah, so dharana is tension in the rubber band, and dhyan is the release of the rubber band, the great release, that first pee in the morning type of release. What am I even saying? Why am I still talking? I don't understand Why are we here? So, yeah, comfort can give you relaxation and rest and a recharge, and that's sick. Another thing it can give you is familiarity. Doing new things is awesome, and we'll talk about that. But sometimes you just need that comfort food, right? We already talked about this, but that familiarity is just great. Sometimes you don't know what to watch, and you have that one anime you know you can rewatch and be okay with. Some psychopaths might rewatch Naruto. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, because that would be like a month of your life. But you know what? If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Most people skip filler episodes. I never did that. I watched all of it the entire way through. I 100%ed Naruto, if you will. But maybe you shouldn't do what I did there, though, because most people just don't do it for a good reason. It's just a lot of filler episodes. Familiarity is a great manner of comfort. It can ground you. If nothing else, sometimes things get crazy, but going back to that one familiar thing, it can give you that sense of comfort. It can give you that sense of security. And maybe you have a friend that you know will always treat you the same, regardless of anything. Of course, when you're rich and famous, because that's what Seriously Funny teaches you, you will be your friends might treat you differently, but maybe you have that one friend that doesn't care what you do, doesn't care about your status, really just kind of talks to you as a human being, and that's it. That really feels good for a lot of people, and that always gives you some sense of comfort and sense of security, and that's awesome. Along with that, comfort is easy. Work can get hard regardless of how much you enjoy it. I find it quite interesting to learn about animating and stuff, but when I actually do it, it takes a long time and it's quite challenging to get everything right. It can be pretty hard, but comfort is pretty easy. And sometimes having that easy thing is just super nice. Anyways, enough positivity. Would this really be a seriously funny episode if I didn't say something that wipes away any semblance of a smile that you have on your face? No. It wouldn't. It wouldn't be a seriously funny episode. So now we have to put on our negativity pants and do that. I think I'm going to hit like 25 or 27 minutes. I might hit 30 again because I actually have like a long outro. We're getting some longer episodes. Maybe you enjoy that. Maybe you don't. If you don't, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. If you're listening, send me an email, I guess. I think that's in the description. But anyways, comfort is great, except for when it's not. Of course, as the adage goes, too much of anything isn't a positive thing. I don't like saying good and bad. Too much of anything isn't a positive thing, or I guess too much of anything is a negative thing. Too much water can lead to hyponatremia. I knew these words, and even if you know them, too much water can lead to hyponatremia, where the blood cells have too much water and they can, burst. Your blood cells will go pop. It's a good time, and they die, and you can die from that happening. Too many vegetables can cause bloating, digestive issues, and constipation. Too much Tylenol can kill you. Too much exercise can injure you. Too much anime. Yeah, that can't happen. You can't do that. The same goes for comfort. Too much comfort can lead to either stagnation or unhealthiness. I was going to say unhealth at one point. I'm like, should I just say unhealth? Make the word up. I didn't do that. I should have. I shouldn't have. But anyways, either or, one of those. A stagnation is not moving forward. It's, if you get too comfortable, stay at a job, or say a job. Why am I like this? Why do I write these things? I'm like, I can read this real quickly. I'll just swipe over and look at the camera and live my life. It'll be great. Not great. Anyway, stagnation is not moving forward. If you get too comfortable at, say, a job, and you don't take any opportunities whatsoever, then you don't lead any meetings, you don't take any initiative, you probably won't get promoted. You might get fired. So for me, I stagnated a bit on this podcast. So I started the video thing, and that was my last innovation. And I think as I, continue to edit these podcasts, I get better at editing them. And so I have that going for me, but I need to market this more. I don't know how to do that, but I need to figure out a way to do that, right? So there's stagnation. I'm comfortable with the routine for my podcast, but maybe I need to shake things up a bit here or there somehow, some way. Maybe that's just changing my thumbnails on YouTube, who knows? But anyways, where was I? Don't let me. Oh no, that's not what I was going to say. Well, I am going to say it in a second, but. Any initiative, you probably won't get promoted, and you might get fired from your job if you just kind of sit there and be comfortable. Now, this might not always be a bad thing. Some people just want a job, and that's good enough for them. If that's the case, then you stay comfortable, dog. All right, don't let me tell you what to do with your time. It's yours. As for unhealthiness, as you know, this one's pretty obvious. If you never make yourself uncomfortable by eating vegetables, exercising, etc., those things can be comfortable for some people. I think as I get older, I enjoy eating vegetables more and more. Saying that just really, really makes me feel either super pretentious and at the same time just super old. Man, hopefully you think I'm pretentious. I'm kidding. But you probably need some sort of discomfort. It's important. And also, eating vegetables isn't discomfortable, uncomfortable. Just cook the vegetables right, okay? And eat the right ones. Asparagus, they go crazy. But if you have that one gene that makes your asparagus smell really, really, really bad after you pee, then I'm sorry about that, but still tastes good. For example, have you ever heard of hormesis? So hormesis is a term used by biologists to describe the adaptive response of cells and organisms to a moderate, usually intermittent amount of stress. And so exercise causes microfractures in your bodies or micro rips in your muscles, which then heal back stronger. Cold showers boost the immune system. Meditation boosts your ability to focus. But none of this happens in the first go around. So, your first time going to the gym, you'll get some micro fractures and micro rips, but that doesn't mean you're going to get absolutely jacked after one day. If you meditate one time, you're not going to be a focusing god. If you take one cold shower, your immune system isn't going to be god tier. All right. And so for even that's why it's intermittent. I just stumbled on like 30 words. That's why it's usually intermittent rather than just the one time. And so vegetables produce a minor stress response in the body, and it's thought that makes the body fight back stronger and better immune system, better health. Vegetables are good for you. Overall, this is just saying this is the literal this is the word for what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Hormesis. Of course, you can't be too uncomfortable, right? If you haven't trained and you try to run a marathon, if you're just a tubby dude like me and I tried to run a marathon, you're going to die. Like, you're going to get very hurt. It's not going to go well. If you try to punch a wall and you shatter your hand. I don't know how my voice makes these noises sometimes. And you shatter your hand won't heal back as some like giga muscle arm, all right? But in moderate intermittent doses, discomfort is important in facilitating health and growth. It's like an investment. A lot of times, pain is the sacrifice of growth, but sometimes pain amounts to absolutely nothing, and that's what we call my college career. Yeah. Funny, right? My tears aside, I sometimes I write these things and I forget I write them, and then I read them in the script, and I'm just like, man, this was super funny when I wrote it, but I feel like my delivery was garbage. And now it just seems sad. It's not even funny. It's just sad now. My tears aside, comfort is awesome, and it's pretty important. As we talked about earlier, recharge is important, but also discomfort is important. This relates back to our episode a few weeks ago on balance. As we said in the balance episode, it's important that you keep it, and comfort follows that rule. It's great to be comfortable, and you need to be in order for those muscles to grow back, but you need the discomfort to make those micro ribs. If you get too comfortable, you'll get fat and die. If you get too uncomfortable, you'll break down and die. Overall, too much of anything kills you. But put that in your head, like the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Never forget it. Make it one of those facts that you just always remember. Don't drink too much water, don't do drugs, and don't punch walls. but be somewhat comfortable, but take cold showers sometimes. All right? All right. That's all, though, for this episode of Seriously Funny. I've mostly been listening to lo-fi, but DC The Dawn just released his new album, My Own Worst Enemy, which he's been teasing for God knows how long. I haven't listened to it. It's pretty long. It's like 22 songs, but it seems like there's some good bangers in there. So whenever I get the time, probably over the week when I just play it, I'll give it a proper listen. But yeah, mostly just lo-fi. So but that DC The Dawn album is really good. I've also been listening to Had. I don't know how to spell or pronounce it. Hayd. At least that's what I believe it is. And that guy, he makes some good music. There's this one EP called Changes, and there's there's a song called Faces and Airplane. Some songs in there go crazy. Lo-fi music, but really, really good. Anime-wise, I finished watching an anime called After the Rain, which is it was quite strange. I'm not going to recommend it. The art is kind of cool, but the story is kind of weird. But I also started watching. I forgot what it's called. It's Joran the Snow. Oh, Joran the Princess of Snow and Blood. There we go. And that one, it seems interesting. I'm on like episode 3, and it seems I'm halfway through the season, though it just feels weird. The art is super interesting. The story is a little bit confusing, but I'm trying to work my head around it and follow it through. It's action anime with a female main character. It's not horrible. I'll recommend it or not recommend it. Hopefully I'll have it done by the next episode. But yeah, manga-wise, I got caught up to Second Life Ranker, which was the most bootleg solo leveling in the world. Not going to recommend that one either. But what I will recommend is the other manga that I've started reading. I'm on chapter 30 now, which is an actual manga instead of a manhwa, and it's Oshinoko, which roughly translates to girl I simp for. In Japan, one kanji or one way of writing something will have a bunch of different meanings. So it means a few things. It's kind of a play on words with the story and things. I'm not going to get into that. I actually have a long explanation on it, but I'll probably be caught up to it maybe by the next episode. So since this episode's running for close to 30 minutes now, I'm just going to go ahead and move everything I was going to say into the outro of the next episode. But I was going to talk about this manga. But anyways, it's really, really good. I'm just going to say that. It's ongoing as well. And so, if you want to go listen to that just off my recommendation, go read that off my recommendation, go read it. If you want to hear more about it, then I'll talk about it next week. And so, next week is where we'll be then. So that's all for this episode of Seriously Funny. If you want to wait for that explanation on Oshinoko, then keep waiting for the episode next week, right? If you stuck this far, big thanks, big appreciate. I will talk at you next week. Hopefully I'll have the microphone and the sound all done well, and this episode will sound great, the best it has ever sounded. Much love, stay comfy, peace.